All right, everyone. The other day brought probably the most odd congressional hearings that we've seen in modern times, which is that Sundar, the CEO of Google, went there to talk about censorship and user privacy and stuff. Now, certain things were said there that appear not to have been accurate. For instance, Google is now claiming that it is not planning to develop Project Dragonfly for China. Of course, that was one of the big things. There were actually protesters there that had signs mentioning this, and it had like the Google logo, but it was red and had like the hammer and sickle, Project Dragonfly. The idea was to have a censored browser released, a Google variant for the Chinese that would be intranet compatible. And what it would do is it would allow the authorities to always have identifiable information to be able to find those that are like looking up VPNs, those that are looking up subversive material like, you know, human rights or working conditions, unionization and things of that nature. And so that was protested. The Monopoly man was sitting directly behind the CEO of Google during the whole of the hearings. That was fucking hilarious. That, by the way, that is the way to protest. Make a statement and make it funny so that it goes viral and spreads further. Like when you throw fists or rocks or something, it's like, that's passé. Somebody makes a video of it, it just makes you look like a goon. But when you dress up as the Monopoly man and sit, you know, 2 seats behind the head of Google, who's how many billions of dollars is Pichai, I believe his last name is. How many billions is he worth? How much fucking money does he get every year? Google, I took the liberty, by the way, before I go into any more of the content, because the Alex Jones dust-up was also hilarious. He came out and said Google was evil, Google is evil. I looked up a list of countries by their sort of nominal GDP. Then I looked up a list of the top tech firms by how many, you know, billions of dollars they're worth. There are tech firms that are worth more than most of the countries in the world, and we still treat them like, oh, it's just the same as a mom and pop cake shop, only they don't have to bake the cake, basically. It's very, very interesting how that happens. By the way, California already has political affiliation and persuasion as a protected class, I believe, under state law. Silicon Valley's in California. Are they not violating California law? Shouldn't the state of California be going after these companies insofar as they're banning people for their political persuasion? Now, the argument, of course, is that that's not happening. But it blatantly is, of course, and it's not, people keep saying, well, dude, go after conservatives. It's not just conservatives, dude. It's anyone outside of the lame stream. Neoliberals and neocons. That's 80% of the population for the most part, although it's a much quickly decreasing portion of it. You're partisans, you're goofy people, like someone says, I'm a conservative, I want lower taxes. Oh, what do you think the taxes should be? 35%, or something like that. Oh, I'm a liberal. Oh, really, what do you, oh, yeah, I want gays to be able to be married. Look, I'm such a progressive. No, they're going after progressives, they're going after the new right, including the alt-right, the identitarians, some of which are far left now, the Nazbols and stuff. You know, national Bolshevism. Libertarians, certainly, anyone who stands against, dude, especially they're going after anyone who stands against censorship. Okay, that's not exactly going to encompass the far right. Now, most of them, the people who have been complaining about that for fucking years and warning people this would become a problem are libertarians like me. In many cases, former liberals who got pissed off at the idea that the Democrats completely they are totally derelict in their duty to defend human rights. They talk a big game, they don't walk any walk at all. They're fucking sitting in a wheelchair, and the wheelchair's mired in a pile of fucking glue. And then you have Alex Jones. And this was also funny. Oddly enough, the Monopoly man with his expanding mustache was even funnier, but Alex Jones, well, the CEO was ready to go into the congressional, hearing place. Followed him, basically, and he's like, Google is evil, Google is evil. Now, I'm not sure how good an idea it is to just chant something over and over. It gets old really quick. But then he gave a short but impassioned speech on the fact that people are being depersoned off the internet and not even being allowed to defend themselves. That is, what happens is that they're banned off of so many sites at once, there's nowhere they can go to even make their case as to why they shouldn't be treated that way. And so you've got some defamatory hippies like, look at what's happening to PewDiePie right now. And this is being shilled really hard. I wonder who could be doing that. Right Wing Watch releasing the, sort of the last significant article of the year. After a dry spell of 7 or 8 months of being totally irrelevant, they said, what are we going to do to antagonize people now? We're starting to lose steam. Oh, I know, we'll attack PewDiePie. It works so well for the Wall Street Journal. So none other than Herod Jolt himself decides to write an article about how PewDiePie is promoting anti-Semitism because in one video clip there was a person with a questionable username that he appears to have been laughing at an action of, but it was related to something that was honestly genuinely funny and would have been funny regardless of what that username was. So you got a defamatory hit piece gets written by the legacy media that competes with these people. Like when CNN and the New York Times gang raped basically Alex Jones, going after him and saying, well, he's in violation of the YouTube rules. Here's 10,000 examples. And then he starts getting depersoned. He starts getting chipped away out on multiple platforms. It's because irresponsible so-called journalists, they make a hit piece. They know what's going to happen. What it'll do is attract a lynch mob, an outrage mob of some hundreds or thousands of self-righteous individuals who will then proceed to attack. And they will attempt to deplatform, and they'll keep at it. Basically it's billionaires using millionaires as pawns, and those same millionaires using people who, have a trust fund or are sleeping in a fucking broom closet, using them as pawns. That's basically what's happening. Unfortunately, what keeps happening at these hearings is that counterpoints are never allowed. Jones was not, Marco Rubio pretended not to know who Alex Jones was like 2 months ago when the depersoning happened, even though he was central to the fact that they were having a hearing in the first place. When are content creators or alt-tech firms going to be able to give congressional testimony? This would be like if back in the day you didn't have Snyder and Zappa and all of these others, and I think Bob Denver, oddly enough, going up against, people who wanted to censor music and having to explain to America why their music was not creating a generation of degenerated devil worshippers. It would be like if they never got to make their testimony and it was just Tipper Gore sitting there saying, oh yeah, there's violence in music and gay references and stuff. We must ban this and do everything that we can to keep impressionable little kids from accessing it, including keeping adults from accessing it because we just don't want to allow it at all. Hence the birth of the rating system, which didn't exist before that and doesn't need to exist now. Now people act like it's sacrosanct or that it's a good idea. No, it's a bunch of bullshit, really. Those particular ratings guidelines don't have any full teeth, but they still have no meaning behind them. So it was very, very funny, the Google testimony there, and then they're like, well, we're not working on Project Dragonfly, but you just confirmed like a day ago that you were, so what you say? It's Schrodinger's fucking browser at this point. Does it exist or does it not? Is it that the Google team that was working on it walked off in protest, which they appear to have done, and so it's sort of stalled out, or has Google at the highest level decided to shelve it? I think it's concerning that Google would sit there and say, well, it's perfectly acceptable for us to build a browser that's going to lead to egregious human rights abuses in China. That's fine, but if someone here on mainstream Google says something edgy, they should get depersoned. They have no place on our platform, says Tim Cook. Of course, he's leading Apple, but they're all interconnected. Google and Apple control every app. They control the entirety of the App Store force that exists in the world, and with people increasingly moving to mobile devices, that gives them even more inordinate power. It's not just like Facebook where it's like, yeah, we're a big site. We have a popular app. We have a popular website. No, even more impressive is Google and Apple, who collectively between the two of them could destroy Facebook tomorrow if they wanted. Remove people's access to the apps virtually entirely. Keep people from being able to access Facebook in any meaningful capacity. Google as a browser. Apple as an operating system as well. What if they were to put it... What if, by the way... Would people be outraged if these totally private businesses were to build shit into their operating systems to directly and mechanically block you from doing certain things? Would that be okay to people? What if they said, hey, in order to use our app store, you have to take a tracking device in your ass so that we can follow you around, so you can't just switch off the tracking? What if they were to say, hey, you need to give us biometric data. You need to do an iris scan to get into your YouTube channel. Would people, unfortunately, long term, I think over time, boiling the frog mode, people wouldn't even do anything. They'd just sit there and take it. They'd become total slaves in order to use, communications platforms that we could safeguard just by extending equal protection legislation. Be as simple as that. I thought Monopoly Man, Alex Jones, Project Dragonfly fiasco. This was a fiasco is what it is. Unfortunately, within a couple of days, people won't even talk about it anymore, which is really sad because there's plenty to talk about. That's about all. Peace out.